Welcome to the Good Morning from the Chicken Coop podcast with Kim Johnson, your creative strategist and master mindset coach. Filled with inspiration, distinctions, perspectives, and possibilities, we help you to cultivate a mindset that leads you to create the best version of yourself you could ever imagine. Join Kim every morning from one of her favorite happy places, her chicken coop, along with all her chickens.
Hey everybody, good morning from the chicken coop. It's a little quiet in here today because most of the chickens, as soon as I opened the gate, took off because there are a lot of bugs around outside. Had a lot of rain, lots of bugs, mean chickens are hunting for bugs. But of course I've got my one girl here, Winnie, with me, who likes to stick by my side. So today we are going to be talking about turning your weaknesses into a strength. You know, I think that whenever I go and I talk leadership with people and we do these deep dives into their styles of leadership, and again, every leadership is relevant to everybody because if you can't lead yourself, you're never going to be able to lead anybody, and you've got to start with yourself. And I had a client recently say to me, I can't even lead my dog. My dog is terrible. My dog doesn't have any manners. And I started laughing and I said, well, that's because you're not being the leader for yourself first, and then the dog will follow. And it's so true. We have to have the cognitive awareness to stop and say, okay, what am I not doing well? And often when we have weaknesses, we don't like to look at them. We like to sweep them under the rug. We don't like to talk about them. And when someone brings them up, it is very, I don't know, we become evasive to it. It's just something we don't want to deal with. We don't want to talk about. We don't want to entertain it. We just want to kind of ignore it and move in a different direction because, oh heck, it's our weaknesses, right? Why do we want to engage ourselves and talk about our weaknesses? Because it seems so silly, and I don't need to talk about my weaknesses. I can ignore them and they'll go away, but they won't. They just seem to fester when we do that kind of stuff. So looking at a weakness is, for me, I kind of think of this, and this is a personal take on it, just even outside of the coaching thing, getting into personal development many years ago was because I recognized that I had weaknesses and that I didn't have answers for the weaknesses, and I really wanted answers, and I really wanted to figure out how to get past them, but I couldn't do it on my own. I couldn't just randomly figure it out, so I had to kind of seek out different tools and different strategies that I had not been, exposed to. And that was how I entered into the world of self-development. And one of my big weaknesses at the time was that I didn't like at all. I owned a business. I did not like at all going out and talking to people and trying to get them to use our services. I mean, it was maddening to me. I couldn't stand doing it. And it was such a weakness because I like to connect with people. Inherently, I like to connect with people, but there's a part of me that's also, as much as an extrovert that I am, that's an introvert. Actually, it's referred to as an ambivert when you are a little bit of both of them. You could go in either direction at any time. And that part of me was definitely a weakness where I was like, okay, I don't want anybody to know this. I don't want anybody to know I like to spend time by myself. I want to hide it. I don't want to talk about it. I was only child, so people are going to say, oh, it's because you're an only child, and they'll label it. So I just hid it. I didn't want to talk about it, and then I would fake it, and then I would get irritated when I had to try to go out and do this stuff. And then it would cause even more problems because then my business partner would be irritated with me and like, well, why can't you do it? You're the one that goes out and loves to talk to people. Because I didn't want to talk about my weaknesses. I didn't want to say something about it. So I had to become very clear on what those weaknesses brought to the table. Good, bad, the ugly. I had to know it all. And in the process of discovering this, what I really uncovered was that this so-called weakness of being able to, go out and talk to people and then really wanting to be alone was actually a gift because I could exist healthfully, very healthfully. Like I could go and do this external stuff, and then I could also be alone for an extended period of time and not be miserable because I was alone. And what I once thought was a massive weakness, I started to view as, okay, this is a strength. I don't have to hide this piece. I just have to be diligent with how I want to do it. I have to say, I've got my alone time, And then I can plan to go out and actually meet with people and feel good about it and start talking to people for a limited period of time. So I just started to set myself up differently. Like I wouldn't try to make 75 phone calls in a day. And, you know, lots of sales trainers recommend that stuff. Oh, sit, dial. Ugh, it's awful and it's not good for the soul and it feels gross. And if someone's telling you to do it, don't. It doesn't work. It never works. Unless you're really compelled to do it, I mean, to just sit and dial nonstop is incredibly frustrating. So what I would suggest is a different approach is looking at it and saying, okay, I am using this awareness of my weakness as a strength, and I'm going to build around it. I'm going to look at myself differently, and I'm going to give myself some different tools based on that. So just start making out your list of like, what are my weaknesses? And then say, well, if I approach this in a different direction and I started thinking of this differently, and I thought of this as a strength, what could the strength in this be? And I promise you're going to be surprised when you actually see how cool it is to recognize that you are not quite as weak as you thought you were, and those weaknesses are here to give you a gift and teach you something, but you have to ask the right questions to figure it out. So I hope you guys have a great day, enjoy the exercise, and I will see you tomorrow.